Lead up principle number 6. Be prepared every time you take your leader's time. In the spring of 2005, Time magazine had an article about Bill Gates and the Xbox 360 gaming system that Microsoft has been working on. I'm not a video game player, so that doesn't hold much personal interest for me. However, the opening sentences of the article about Gates caught my attention because they highlighted the importance of a leader's time. The article said, Bill Gates' time is valuable. There are Microsoft employees who wait their whole career to be alone with Gates for 45 minutes. As the richest man in the world and arguably the greatest philanthropist in history, at any given moment Gates could and probably should be off feeding the hungry or curing some horrible disease. For all leaders, time is precious. Time is the one commodity that cannot be increased no matter what a leader does. For that reason, you must always be prepared when you take any of your leader's time. Though you may have latitude in how you spend your employees' or peers' time, when dealing with those above you, the amount of time you can spend is limited. If you desire to lead up, you need to act accordingly. Number 1, invest 10x. You show your value when you show that you value your leader's time. The best way to do that is to spend 10 minutes preparing for every minute that you expect to meet. Most top leaders are good decision makers. If they're not, they rarely get the opportunity to lead from the top of the organization. But many times when they are unable to make decisions, it is because they don't have enough information. I know that's true for me. When my assistant cannot get a quick answer from me on an issue, it's usually because she hasn't done enough homework on the front end. That's not to say it happens very often. Linda is awesome, and 99% of the time she doesn't even ask me a question until she's put in all the groundwork. She easily invests 10x, putting in 10 minutes of preparation for every minute of my time. The less relational connection you have with your leaders, the more time you ought to put in on the front end preparing. The less your leaders know about you, the smaller the window of time you may have to prove yourself. But if you prepare well, chances are you will get other opportunities. Number 2, don't make your boss think for you. Have you ever had an employee who seemed to ask questions constantly without ever taking the time to think for himself? It can be very frustrating, can't it? Leaders in the middle should ask questions of their bosses only when they cannot answer those questions. Here's how leaders at the top think when they receive questions from leaders in the middle. If they ask questions because they can't think, then we're in trouble. If they ask questions because they're lazy, then they are in trouble. If they ask questions so that everyone can move faster, then we're headed for success. While bad questions have a negative impact, good questions actually do several positive things. They clarify objectives, they speed up the process of completion, and they stimulate good thinking. All of these things will benefit the organization and help you stand out in a positive way with your leader. Number 3, bring something to the table. For years, I have used the expression, bring something to the table, to describe a person's ability to contribute to a conversation or to add value to others at a meeting. Not everyone does that. In life, some people always want to be the guest. Wherever they go, they want to be served, to have their needs met, to be the recipient. Because they possess that attitude, they never bring anything to the table for anyone else. After a while, that can really wear out the person who's always playing host. People who become 360-degree leaders don't work that way. Their mindset is to be constantly looking for ways to bring something to the table for their leaders, their peers, and their employees, whether it's resources, ideas, or opportunities. As the leader of an organization, I'm always looking for people who bring something to the table in the area of ideas. If they can be creative and generate ideas, that's great. But I also highly value people who are constructive, who take an idea that someone puts